What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Glorious Nightmares podcast. I'm Adam Lavick, joined here with...
Hello, I'm Cameron Rice. We're talking about Jaws. It's our Jaws special. It's the 50th anniversary.
Oh, man.
I brought some cool stuff here today.
You did. I brought nothing.
That's fine. That's okay. I'm the addict.
Oh, man. Well, I actually should have, since I just went to an event a couple weeks ago now where they give us a bunch of free stuff. Whoopsie.
Oops,
Sorry.
it happens. But so 50th anniversary. On the last episode, we just talked about watching Jaws a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But let's talk about our own histories, and then we'll get into the nit and grit. For you, when was the last time, if you can recall, like when did you see Jaws? Obviously, we're born, late 80s. Jaws already exists. It's in the world. The sequels have happened. It is a thing.
That's true. The whole franchise was done by the time we were born.
Yes.
That's crazy. I never thought about that. That's a good question. I have to assume, because I do not remember the first time watching Jaws.
Right.
I think bits and pieces of it was TNT, probably.
Yeah.
Playing on cable. But I think so that left some kind of impression in my head. But I think my real sort of understanding of what Jaws really was going to Universal Studios.
The ride.
And going on the tram ride, yeah.
Yep.
And being completely sort of like blown away by the whole experience, but then getting to Amity Island. Oh, and then there's Ben, well, I think it was Ben Gardner.
Ben Gardner.
And then, getting the fisherman all of a sudden goes underwater, and then you're like, what is happening? And then this gigantic animatronic shark bursting out of the water.
Yep.
And I already, as a kid, we all grew up in Southern California, go to the ocean all the time. Like the beach is your life when you live in Southern California. So the idea of this ginormous 12-foot animatronic shark coming out of the water nearly made me piss my pants and made me absolutely afraid to want to go in the water. Yeah. So that's as far back as I could remember. And then from there, I think it was honestly just sitting down and watching Jaws on TV in multiple iterations as a kid.
Yeah.
And then that permanently scarring me to this day, where I'm like, I don't need to go in the ocean.
So Jaws, I think similarly, TNT, probably TBS, especially 4th of July. Growing up, they loved showing the films on the 4th of July. So seeing the first one, seeing the second one, I really never got to the third one for quite a while.
Yeah, I think I got to the third and fourth. Not on home video,
right,
but somewhere like way later. I didn't even know the third one took place in SeaWorld. But yeah, that's true.
What a weird tie-in.
What a weird tangent. But yeah, I do remember. I think I'm 99% sure that Jaws, the first one, was the first one that I actually did see. Then Jaws 2. But I think at some point in my brain I got them confused. I think I couldn't fully remember what events took place at the end of Jaws 1 versus Jaws 2. And I think it was until I was like in my high school years that I was like, oh, okay, the stuff with the orca is part 1. The stuff with the kids paddling out in the middle of the ocean is part 2. So
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I was watching on TNT, living in LA, so you go to Universal Studios, you do the tram ride, you're close to the beach.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And then once I, fully saw the movie, like not on TNT with commercials and stuff like that, it became one of those movies that would show friends who have not seen it, especially in high school.
Yeah.
Friends of mine who seemed to be interested in films, and I'd be like, well, have you seen Jaws? And I think similar, it's like, oh, Osmosis, I've seen bits and pieces, the joke in Back to the Future 2, and all that kind of stuff. But as far as like actually sitting down and watching it, so that became a big thing, and it was always about seeing the reactions. That's some of my favorite stuff, is when you watch a movie you're very familiar with, is sort of watching it with the people you're watching with and seeing when do they react. Yeah. Do the jumps still work? Do the things still hit? This, that, and the other. And yeah, it being the 50th anniversary, there's been a lot of Jaws stuff and things slightly connected. I rewatched not that long ago the John Williams documentary on Disney Plus, and obviously pretty much the intro to that is discussing before they get into the full thing, is his introduction to Spielberg about the Jaws score and the 2 bits on the piano.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jaws is one of those movies that it's a miracle in that it's one of the rare movies to me that is like perfect. I don't know if there's anything to change. I don't know if there's anything where you're like, I wish we had more. Like outside of like, I like these characters. It's like, I don't know if there's like, oh, I don't feel like this was adequately done. I don't know if this was a thing and that was a thing. It's like, nope, pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty much it's Jaws.
Totally, yeah, and I've had that feeling. I watched it 3 times over the course of like from the first time I saw it at the screening to having a little bit of a backyard get together, and every time I watch that movie, at the end of it, I go, "What would I do differently?" Literally, not a thing.
Yeah,
not a thing. And you could sit here and go like, well, you could have given this relationship or Ellen or these characters or the sons or whatever a little bit more, a little bit this and that. You could have, dive a little deeper into this, that, or the other. Matt Hooper, is he married? What? No.
How familiar are you with the book, the original, the Peter Benchley book? Have you ever read it?
I have not read it.
Okay, so I read it in high school. Do you know the differences? Okay, so some of the fun stuff in the differences, which is also why it's so interesting to live in the time we live in now. Where I feel like 10, 15 years ago, maybe it was the Harry Potter movies that kind of started this, but that era of like, just do the book.
Right.
Just do the thing.
Right.
Make the fans happy. Put everything in there. Mention stuff that doesn't even matter to the movie. Put it all in there.
But fans will go, that thing.
Name a character that's not even going to be in the film. Put them in because of the book. And there's the 3 movies I always hold up as like, you don't need to do the book straight up. Is Jaws, Godfather, and The Shining. Where those are very much like, the skeleton is the same, but those directors, Shining obviously a controversial one in comparison to the other 2. Potatoes. But the Godfather similarly, chuck that out. Don't need this. So some of the bigger differences in Jaws is the reason the mayor doesn't want to close the beach is he has ties to the mafia.
Oh.
And the mafia is leaning on him about you can't close the beach. And that's a decent chunk of the book. Is the mayor has secondary motives to not wanting to close the beaches.
See, and
he needs to make money because he owes money to the mob.
And this is my fear with these movies now, with us being in the era of like remakes and all that sort of stuff. Because I have not read the book, and the first thing that I thought of was, if they were to remake this today, would they do that? Would they take all of that shit and make it into a 2.5-hour movie?
The other major difference is Hooper and Ellen Brody have an affair.
I do know that one, yeah.
Because the Brody marriage is more conflicted, and Hooper is the younger brother of her college boyfriend.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of like, you remind me of him, and da-da-da. And so they have this fling. Hooper dies in the book. And the way the shark dies in the book is when he pulls down Quint, very Moby Dick-like, he pulls all these ropes on around him and drowns because now he can't swim.
Got it.
So Brody is the only one who makes it out. People, I think, now kind of talk about the book in the case of saying it's bad. I don't know about that. It's just very different.
Let's not even get into the whole thing of like that thing that in 50 years ago was great and now it's terrible. I hate those.
Yeah, but I think there's definitely Spielberg talks about it. So we got a couple books here. We're going to talk about those. But Spielberg talks about in this book, actually, Spielberg, the first 10 years, which is
that's awesome.
Speaking of,
is that Drew Struzan?
It might be. Is it a Struzan? It might be a Struzan. This is a book that really covers the first 10 years of his career. Obviously, the back is Jaws. This book is written actually by the filmmaker who did the John Williams documentary and is doing the Jaws 50 documentary for National Geographic. Cool. So someone Spielberg knows very well. And what's cool is you get stuff like this, where it's like Spielberg's handwritten notes from the time of working on Jaws, behind the scenes interviews. But one of the things he talks about, Spielberg, in this book, is that he had gone to Peter Benchley and basically said, like Peter Benchley was like, I'll write you a first draft of the script, and then after that, do whatever you want to do. And so one of the things Spielberg talks about in this book, he mentions that he did not want to have the affair scene. He said that felt too like, there's something he mentions. But basically he says like it felt a little too TV movie of the week. It felt a little too like
Days of Our Lives,
the soap opera of it all, and this, that, and the other. He's like, I don't really want to have any of that. I don't think we need that in there. And so it's all about simple. So what he says he did was after he got that draft, he's like, it's a good draft. He's like, but it wasn't the movie I wanted to make. So then he himself set a weekend and wrote a draft himself.
I did catch that on the Blu-ray. He was like, "Listen, if anything, it was just going to be an exercise for me, but I wanted to do it." I was
to
like,
be able to sink into the film properly and do that kind of stuff. And then eventually another screenwriter gets hired that he works with for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then that draft they're pretty happy with. And in the end, he brings on, which is the other big book, Carl Gottlieb. Carl Gottlieb, who is the credited screenwriter, also the credited screenwriter for 2 and 3. He plays the local press guy in the film as well. He's the one that's trying to get the camera guy to be like, take the photos. Little young man, can you get out of there? And da, da, da. He's always with the mayor.
Oh, that's Carl Gottlieb.
That's Carl Gottlieb.
Okay,
Carl Gottlieb was on set, obviously. And that was part of the reason also for hiring him as an actor, was that he could be on set and then work with the writing. And they talk about in both these books that the actors would get together and it would be Spielberg, Gottlieb, and the 3 leads, Scheider, Dreyfuss, and Shaw. And kind of talking about scenes and going over scenes. And then they would write stuff out and everything. And in this book, he talks about that a lot of times they would then send the script to Richard Zanuck, who was one of the producers.
Right.
And he's like, okay, it's getting a little silly. It's getting like you guys are getting. And that's the thing to kind of remember is that Spielberg is 26 at this time.
Christ.
Carl Gottlieb is also like not that far off in that age. A lot of young guys outside of Roy Scheider and Shaw. And so it's that thing of like, okay, these are all fun exercises, but let's eventually focus. And Spielberg said like there were times where he like totally agreed. He's like getting too goofy, too silly. But these are 2 great books. And then the other final book I have here is Jaws Memories, Things from Martha's Vineyard. Lots of great like behind the scenes photos, especially if you are into like film lighting and stuff like that. There's so many great things like that. There's interviews with people from Martha's Vineyard. A lot of people who kind of also like maybe don't get talked to a lot in those documentaries and things like that. Some of like the supporting players and locals. But talking about Jaws, and the reason these books exist, things like this, on top of the fact that it's like, oh, it's a seminal movie. You know what I mean? There's a lot of books about The Godfather. But stuff like this is because the making of it was so chaotic. Especially this book, because Carl Gottlieb, Jaws Log is really sort of his diaries at the time of working on it. So there's a lot of shark's not working. This is what we got to do. And that's the other thing too is, so for those who don't know, I mean, it's really talked about, but maybe a lot of people don't know. Jaws was a big best-selling book. They hire Spielberg, who's this young gun who's coming off of Duel and Sugarland Express. And they're like, hey, I think this guy can do this. He doesn't want to sign on until he kind of gets the draft right. Finally gets the draft right. Takes a little while for casting because some of the other names that were bandied about for casting was like Sterling Hayden. And Lee Marvin for Quint and stuff like that. But finally he locks in on the 3. Richard Dreyfuss for the longest time was the holdout. Until he saw himself in a different movie and was like, I got to get cast as soon as possible.
I need a job immediately.
I got to get a job. And originally what was supposed to be a 50-day shoot ended up going 150 days. It went massively over schedule, thus over budget. And it's not just because of the shark. I think a lot of people think it's just the shark.
Oh, no.
I mean, the shark didn't work, so suddenly the budget went 100 days over. Or the schedule. That's not only what it was. It was also the decision Spielberg made to work on the open ocean. Because there was, of course, discussions of just shoot this in a tank. There are, for those of you who don't live in Hollywood or LA, there are backlot areas, and there are tanks where a lot of times things can get shot, and they'll put up backgrounds or paintings and stuff like that. Obviously, it's more sophisticated now than it was in the 70s.
I mean, just watch Jaws: The Revenge, and you'll see how that does not work totally.
But a lot of films get shot on backlot pools and stuff like that. And Spielberg was like, no, you really have to feel that these guys have nowhere to go when they're on the boat. You need to be able to see far enough away to see that there's no land, that nothing is happening. But on top of the fact of the shark not working, there was also the fact that you are then, working with the elements. And some days it's going to rain. And some days things aren't going to work. Richard Dreyfuss talks about that the waiting, because obviously in the 70s in comparison to today, if you are trying to get a shot where this boat is alone in the water and then a sailboat is suddenly 200 feet back, you have to wait till that boat leaves frame.
And by the time that boat leaves frame, the boat has moved, everything has moved, your background's changed.
The lighting is possibly
lighting, so you got to wait for the boats and you got to turn everything around and then wait for the next thing to get out of your shot.
And so they talk about how essentially they were like, Spielberg himself was like, oh, I've ruined my career. I have torpedoed my career by taking on this film Richard Dreyfuss talks about that he thought, mainly because the shark wasn't working, that it was going to be a giant turkey. That's like, how do you have a monster movie with no monster?
Right.
And the workarounds that they come up with, and the fact that with the shark not working and waiting for weather, they then really concentrated on the human story and what they could film. And that is all the stuff with on land, the landlocked stuff. And that is, I think, where the movie's magic comes in, is all that stuff. The great thing, so we talked about a little bit Jurassic World Rebirth in the last episode. And in that, there's a scene with a lot of ADR.
Yeah.
In the beginning act, mostly from the Mahershala Ali character. And it's very interesting because I think now ADR, for people who don't know, they maybe hear ADR and they think, oh, they're covering up something. Mistakes were made. Things had to happen in the edit. And watching that scene, it's very interesting that I feel like you never know,
right.
How they re-edited the movie or what was originally written, but it never felt like that ADR was information that was missing otherwise.
Right, or changed or add or whatever.
And you can hear it. But what's interesting about watching Jaws, and especially then going to the Hollywood Bowl and watching it on a big screen with the sound and everything, is there's a lot of ADR in Jaws. But a lot of it seems like it is in there not just to deliver information. It's not about, we got to go to this beach. The sun goes down at 4. And it's like, the audience might be confused. Like, there's a lot of ADR where the one, to me, that's the scene that I love is the meat scene on the bridge when the two guys are like, that's my wife's roast.
Yeah.
It's very clearly ADR.
Totally.
And it's all character building stuff.
Yeah.
With these two characters who never appear again in the movie.
No, never again. Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I appreciate from the film, and something I think as I've gotten older, I've found to appreciate much more is that you're right. It's not necessarily that they are sitting there going, well, we need to spoon feed information to the audience.
No,
it's how do we just enrich in what we've already done.
And I think it's both hiring locals.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Martha's Vineyard locals were in the movie and worked on the movie and stuff like that. So you do get a lot of these like New England voices and these people. And that's the thing. There's so many rich characters in this movie. There's the main three, the family, the mayor, but there's also like the woman who is like, I don't think that's funny. I don't think that's funny at all.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's got such a New Yorkie accent. She's like, you'll never be an islander.
You're not an islander. You're not born on the island. You're never an islander. I don't know what to tell you.
And all this like just rich stuff whether that's Gottlieb or Spielberg or the script or the stuff they're writing as they go, that it's all just character building, character and world building, but not in a lore way.
Yeah.
In just a way where it's like, oh, this feels like such a lived in town.
And sometimes it's honestly not even the central part of like what you're supposed to be paying attention to. It's background noise sometimes.
It's sometimes background noise. It's really funny to watch this movie with subtitles on because when we showed it at the bowl, they put subtitles on.
Yeah.
And so hearing a lot of like Quint's dialogue when he's yelling at Richard Dreyfuss on the boat in the scene when Brody and his wife, she's like, do you have your Dramamine? Da, da, da. And then the dialogue is there, so you're seeing it written, but it's like Shaw just yelling at Richard, being like,
going off.
Oh, you gotta do this, son of a bitch! It's like, and it's
what do you want, astronaut?
Well, and it's also the fact that Spielberg's talked about that he was a big fan of Robert Altman's films, and this era of Robert Altman, especially from MASH, Robert Altman was doing stuff in the sound department where. Now it's very commonplace, but at the time, giving people individual mics.
Yeah.
So that then in the edit, he can be like, oh, you know what? I want to hear that conversation. I want to hear this conversation. So there are points in this movie, and it happens in Close Encounters as well, where Spielberg will have like 2 or 3 different conversations going at almost the same volume.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it's chaotic, but not in a chaotic way where you're like, I can't even pay attention.
No, you're trying to pay attention to all of it. It's so interesting.
And it's the stuff of like, knowing too what they did shoot but wasn't in the movie, such as like the Kittner boy's death. Like it is far more like they had a puppet and the puppet got bit down and blood went everywhere. And even at 27, this is the Spielberg knowing the movie he wanted to make even at this young age. Me at 26, 27, you give me a puppet that explodes blood.
Give me all the goods.
I'm like, oh, that's going to be a great shot.
Yeah.
He had the realization to go like, I think that will make the audience stop. That's a step too far.
Yeah, well, and I think also just the era in which that movie was, you have to also think about this.
There's no PG-13.
There's no PG-13. This movie is rated PG. And I maybe you know, but I don't know if the aim was to try to make it accessible for a wider audience based on how much they were putting into it and all that sort of stuff.
It's an interesting time because it is the thing of like, this is based off a huge novel.
Yeah.
But The Godfather didn't shy away from being rated R, but the book
True.
is rated R
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And so it's that interesting thing. I think the other thing about Jaws, it's called the first blockbuster, and everyone refers it to as such. But the thing is also, it's the three movies, Godfather, Jaws, and Star Wars, that really did change movie distribution. Because prior to those three movies, it really was you would open in New York and LA and see what happened.
Right. And
then you'd open a little bit more in Dallas.
Right.
And maybe go here. And then you start opening in smaller towns and this, that, and the other. And Godfather was the first one before Jaws. Godfather comes out, and that's the one where it's like, let's open in some more around the same time. And let's see what happens. And then Jaws is the one where it's like, we're opening wide. We're going full bore. We're not going to do the city by city by city thing. How much of that was also like knowing that they had a hit, and how much of that is also like, we need to recoup our money?
Yeah, that's true.
This went 100 days.
This one is expensive.
But the fact is, too, Richard Dreyfuss has talked about that Spielberg was nervous constantly he was going to get fired. Richard Dreyfuss, a controversial figure, let's say at times, is of the opinion that that's ridiculous because Lou Wasserman, the head of the studio, and Sid Sheinberg, who was the head of production, loved Spielberg. He's like, they're not going to fire you. You're going to be fine. But it's and the fact that the movie has the legs that it has, the fact that it's like, and that it's very funny that there are 3 sequels and many ripoffs and all this other stuff, but it seems to have not affected the shine of the first movie. Even the fact that Roy Scheider's the lead in 2. Carl Gottlieb is a screenwriter, wrote 2 and 3. The second unit director on the first one was the director on the third one. Like, it seemed to be like, there was enough continuous elements, but you didn't have Spielberg. You didn't have a book to go off of. And you didn't have, I think, that element of Roy Scheider to bounce off other people.
Yeah.
The mayor, Murray Hamilton is the mayor returns. Right. There's characters that return, but that you don't have Richard Dreyfuss, you don't have Robert Shaw.
Right. Yeah, and I
love Roy Scheider. Roy Scheider,
oh, yeah.
I think is a very, in a funny way, despite being in this and the French Connection. I feel like when people talk about the great actors of the 70s, he's often forgotten.
Yeah, that's fair.
And between like these two and the 7-Ups and Sorcerer, which rules, that's the 80s, but still, all that jazz, like Roy Scheider is like and he's amazing in this. This like world weary guy who's afraid of the water, and the fact that everybody has some form of narc in this.
Yeah.
Except maybe Hooper.
Right.
Hooper comes in excited.
He's like, shark hunting, let's go. And then he's like, holy shit, it's huge.
But it doesn't feel like they need to shove an arc on him.
Right.
Like it would be very easy today to be like, you know what the arc can be is okay, so there's bits about Hooper being like a college boy who doesn't actually, he knows sharks, but from a scientific standpoint, he doesn't have his hands dirty like Quint. So what if by the end he learns from Quint? And you could see like that being like, we got to do that. Yeah. No, it's perfectly fine that it's like
he's just really excited to be there.
the arc of Chief Brody hates the water. I gotta get in the water.
Yeah. Goddamn water. Simple. Very simple. And I think the thing that at least just from my perspective, the thing that makes Jaws kind of withstand, the drop in quality over subsequent sequels is kind of the same thing with Halloween in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Halloween, there are 13 of those goddamn movies. That first one, I still think has not been tarnished by how bad Halloween 5 is, or Resurrection, or even how great the 2018 one is. I think it like props it up a little bit, but that first one is still the one that people always go back to and say, that is the gold standard of that movie, that type of movie, that franchise, whatever. And I think Jaws is, I don't know, conceivably forever going to be that movie.
Do you think it helps? Let me ask this too. Do you think it helps that something like Jaws doesn't have the thing that Halloween has, and a couple of the other series we love, James Bond, Rocky even, where we're going to do part 2. It takes place right away. And so there's almost this degree where it's like the sequel kind of ties itself into the original in a way. Right. And so if the sequel, even if it's good, I have my issues with Halloween 2. I have my issues with Rocky 2. Quantum of Solace, many issues.
Right.
There's some stuff that's good.
Yeah.
But the fact that Jaws 2 is like years later.
Right. It's like 4 years later, and you're like,
And
okay,
it's
it doesn't feel so like necessary.
It's not trying to tie itself into like, this is the next day. And what they didn't know was there was a second shark.
This whole time you didn't know.
Hooper was wrong. It wasn't a rogue.
It was a robot shark, and when it opened, the real shark came out.
There was a rogue so many more.
No, but I think there's a lot of validity to that because I think a lot of the time when people talk about, especially something like Halloween 2, they go, oh, but you got to watch the second one because it takes place right after the first one.
It's the same night.
It's the same night. It's more of the night he came home. Whereas with
Ignore
Jaws,
the fact that she's wearing a terrible wig.
Yeah. But with Jaws 2, it's like, yeah, it's years later, so I guess it's not that necessary, and we can just kind of stick to the first one. I think that does play a big part of it.
Yeah, and I also bought this after our last recording, Jaws the board game.
Nice.
Which I didn't know exactly what it was until I got it. It is a game done in 2 acts. In Amity and then the Orca.
That's cool. Wait, I think I played this on a Hyper RPG live stream.
Did you really?
Once. I think so.
It takes 60 minutes to play the game. So we might need to do a Patreon special of getting like another friend in here to play with us. And one of the players is the shark.
Okay, yeah, I did play this on a Hyper RPG stream in the middle of the pandemic. I have no idea how to play this.
Yeah, remember
game
a lot of stuff we did in the pandemic is kind of memory hold.
Yeah.
But that might be, speaking of, go sign up for our Patreon. We got some cool stuff there. Yeah. We're going to try and also do some, because horror, it's not just movies. It can also be games. We're going to try to do some gaming stuff. So maybe that'd be a Patreon special.
Yep, this looks very familiar to me. I do remember playing it and being slightly confused with the mechanics of the game.
I think we're going to bring in Bert.
Perfect.
Bert's very good about reading rules and thus explaining. I also have the E.T. board game and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre board game.
Oh, I have the Halloween board game, or I think it's Halloween 2 technically.
Well, they had just released Halloween 2, so there's Halloween. So we might need to do some Patreon specials with our friend Bert and then one other friend who's not a straight white guy.
No. True, we got to mix it up.
Yeah, we got to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But and so talking about the sequels, Jaws 2. There's some elements I like. There is one shot that I think rips so hard, which is the shark like scraping against the boat, almost getting someone's leg. Which I think, this is the world of practical effects. I think that was an accident. And then they were like, "That looked good. Keep that."
Oh wow! Well, that was a good. Or
accident. it was supposed to skim, but it wasn't supposed to quite hit
that hard.
And then it did, and then they were like, "Cool."
Well, and I think you look at some of the movies that have come out since then that are shark, like Deep Blue Sea, The Meg, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I do think that the power of Jaws is one, Spielberg, whether he wanted to or not, holding back the shark made a huge difference. Because the suspense the building was just so much more impactful emotionally. And then I think just the fact that the shark itself is a practical element. Of course, there is some stuff that they photographed in Australia of real sharks that I thought looked really cool.
Mostly used in the Hooper
in the Hooper cage sequence. Yeah, that looks amazing. But yeah, I think just the practical element of it all, it feels way more real. Even though when the shark comes out of the water, you're like, all right, it's mechanical. But still, it is a practical element.
Also, the fact that the story
water.
Itself is treated, the shark is almost treated like a mythical creature.
Yeah,
makes
it is.
It work.
Yeah.
No, it's Jaws 3 is interesting. 3 and 4 are 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I think they're
kind of goes the same. It kind of goes the way of the Superman franchise, where you're like, those last two, I don't know about those.
I would say the difference is, to me, 3 and 4 of Jaws you can watch with friends and have a pretty good laugh. Like I don't know if they're quite into the so bad they're good, but there's elements, there's stuff happening. Mario Van Peebles doing a very bad Jamaican accent.
Oh yeah,
there's things.
Yeah,
I think if you watch it alone, it can be a slog.
Totally, I could totally see that.
And so there's degrees of that. Superman 3 and 4. 4 I think does get into so bad it's good territory.
I think it's better than 3. That's for another episode.
I gotta, I'll make an appearance on Heroes Reforged. Hector can come here and defend Jurassic World 2.
Dominion?
No, he hates Dominion too.
I know he does. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's Jaws being what it is it's like, again, what we talked about in the last episode was characters, and the characters just work so well.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, it is dumb how amazing those characters are. Well, especially someone like Quint, because I would say time-wise, you technically spend the least amount of time with him, and it's not really
what an entrance.
What's that?
What an entrance.
Oh my God, incredible entrance. And it's that moment on the Orca where he's telling the story of being in World War II.
The Indianapolis speech, the famous speech.
The Indianapolis speech, being surrounded by sharks, and it's just and I love even the story around it, how Robert Shaw wanted to play it drunk, so he really got drunk, and then he tried to do it, and it didn't really work, and he never actually really got to it because he kind of blacked out, and then was embarrassed and was like, oh my God, I worried about how he embarrassed Spielberg, and then the next day he came up and apologized, and then they did it, and he knocked it out. He reworked it, rewrote some of it.
Yeah, so the writing of that is between, and Gottlieb talks about it in his book. It was Gottlieb, like the first initial, like give this character a backstory pass. And then they brought in famous madman and screenwriter of Conan the Barbarian and Apocalypse Now, John Milius. And John Milius kind of really cracked it open and did the thing. And then Robert Shaw did a final pass. And so you have like the original screenwriter, the madman who made Conan the Barbarian, and then finally put through the Irish drinking of Robert Shaw.
Filter. Yeah.
But it's phenomenal. And
So
that scene, the Hollywood Bowl, you could hear a pin drop. Yeah. Like it was so, and I think talking about that, the sound design on this movie, obviously the score itself, but also again, like the lines, the ADR lines in the background, the sound design. To me, the thing I always think about is Chrissy getting pulled into the water, half scream.
Dude.
And like full throated, like screaming, and then just getting and silence.
That's the other thing too with that stunt work. Like for 1975, or 70, they must have shot it maybe 74. Just the things that they were able to achieve, and I get it. They went over budget and they went over time and stuff, but even just the ingenuity of thinking about how would that look. How can we make that look incredibly terrifying? And how do we make it like practically work where we pull this actress around that makes it feel really visceral? And the fact that they pulled it off literally by yanking her around and the combination of her screams.
It's in this book. She's wearing basically like what looks like trapeze underwear. With hooks on the side of it. Yeah. And she is getting pulled from men on the beach. Yeah. And I think it was Spielberg basically was like, you two are basically going to play tug of war. Yeah, pretty much. To try to pull her into the water. Yeah. And so I always think like a scene like that must be crazy because like you are filming a scene where an actress is truly screaming for help. Yeah. That she is in pain. Yeah. And that it hurts. And you have to kind of like walk that fine line of like, okay, at what point?
So here we go.
And I also want to talk about the Ben, because I just passed it in the book, the Ben Garner head in the boat, which was a pickup. It was a late pickup. Oh. They filmed that in a pool.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I think it was actually like Spielberg's manager's pool or something like that. But it was like that, like stuff like that, where it's like, oh yeah, they went out to Martha's Vineyard in the real ocean, And then also this other iconic scene was just filmed in a pool in the Hollywood Hills.
Which is amazing because when I screened it in the backyard for everyone, that got everyone to jump.
Oh, yeah.
My girlfriend's dad was like, I'm done with this movie.
Has he never seen it before?
No, he's seen it, but it had been a really long time since he had seen it. So, some of that stuff was a little murky to him. And that pops up and he was like, oh, damn, that got me good. That woke him up.
He was snoozing before that.
But yeah, that's amazing though, because some of those moments, and again, I think it just goes to show how sometimes you got to go through things with a fine-tooth comb, and sometimes you just need to be creative on the spot and you just got to figure it out.
Yeah, so this is
look at that thing.
Best I can do.
Look at those
also
trunks.
Of course it's the one page. I bought this book brand new. It's the one page that's crumpled. I'm like, what happened? But you can kind of see, you see that over there? You can kind of see it's like this trapeze underwear. Yeah. Also the fact that it was shot day for night, because of course it was.
Right.
For those who don't know, you might often hear people say like, don't shoot for day for night if you don't have to. They had to in this case, because film, the difference between shooting on film and shooting in digital is digital now on digital cameras, you can really pump the ISO up and not get too grainy. Film,
not on film.
Film, you are pretty much working at the most part 200, 400, 800. And for those of you who don't know film cameras, 800 in a low light environment, you are not going to see a lot.
That's grainy. There's a lot going on.
Even if you are on the fastest lenses, and even in that time, I don't know.
Yeah, and at that point, like I don't even well, and that's the other thing with Spielberg is he's not the type of filmmaker, at least back then, who was shooting everything wide open. Like he's not shooting at like
Spielberg,
a 1.2. It's probably like a 5.6.
I think Spielberg
8.
generally shoots at a 5.6, 6.8. Like it's usually pretty deep focus.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like actor close-ups and stuff might be a little bit, but if you look at a lot of his scenes, like again, like the scene when they pull out the incorrect shark, there's a lot of deep focus and characters walking around and everything like that.
Yeah.
And so if you're and that's why back then film cameras, you will see like behind the scenes photos compared then to today, even in scenes that are out in the sun, they still have lights because you really had to be working
that light in,
get that light going. That's why film sets are hot. If you look at behind the scenes photos of films before digital, there are so many lights, so many everything. Whereas like digital, it's like, oh, you can get like 2 or 3 lights. Now, granted, the trade-off on that is now we're getting a lot of stuff that looks too dark because I think people are too reliant on like just jack up the ISO. But it's interesting because you will very often hear like, oh my God, don't shoot day for night. It never looks good, and very often it doesn't.
Right.
The reason behind that is the way the sun creates shadows versus the moon is very different. So that's why if you ever see like a day for night scene in the woods or something like that, and it's just like really shadowy in the blue, like it's overly cool, and shadows are falling in the wrong spot. Again, a movie I talked about in the last episode, Cruel Jaws. They were clearly trying to recreate day for night, but it was on a sunny day with a lot of clouds.
Oh no.
So it really didn't look correct.
Yeah.
Whereas this shooting on the flat ocean day for night and on a clear day,
just a blue sky, very forgiving,
blue water, looks great. You wouldn't, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I think I could see a lot of people, because my girlfriend even asked me, she's like, how did they shoot this at night? And I'm like, they did not.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just incredible technical know-how to know how to do all that stuff. Because that's very true. I wasn't even thinking about that as I was watching the movie, but to be able to achieve that, nowadays, we kind of take it for granted. But back then that was a really big deal to do that, because film is not forgiving in the dark.
No.
In daytime, it's pretty forgiving, but otherwise, it is not. But just incredible work. There's also a lot of like split diopter shots in the movie.
Yes.
That I think are really, really cool. And I think I'm pretty sure it's not the first movie to do this, but the most famous iconic shot is the dolly zoom on
the vertigo shot.
On Brody. When he actually sees Alex Kidner being attacked by the shark.
Well, and the fact that scene is a great tension builder scene.
Yeah.
Because it's having people walk past the camera, and that's how they're doing the cuts.
Yeah.
And that Brody's like hearing like screams, and then
it's
looks
getting like
and
tighter and tighter.
And that's
tighter.
when we're doing the split diopter. Is like his neighbor, somebody's coming to talk to me, like, can you get in the red zone?
Red zone in front of my house. I don't want people
and
parking
we're
there.
seeing like the girl and and it's just that perfect. It's all motivated, and that's the thing about Spielberg compared to a lot of other filmmakers. Him, Scorsese, I think a lot of filmmakers at that time were very good about knowing like there are cool tricks. What's the motivation behind it? Now, sometimes you can just do cool shit for cool shit's sake, and it can be cool. But watching a movie like this, it is great to kind of see like, oh, we're gonna get fancy when it's character motivated, when we're trying to kind of like enter the world of these characters or these people. But it's Jaws. It's fantastic. There's not much more.
Yeah, and the other thing that a lot of times what'll happen, especially with like now the movie being remastered in a 4K setting, they have things like Dolby Atmos and all that stuff. The thing that sometimes gets lost is the sound. And the one thing that I think is worth giving credit for is that the intention of the sound and the way the sound is supposed to haunt you or make you feel, it's not lost in the remaster. And a lot of times when I watch 4K remasters and they do like an up mix of like going from mono to Dolby Atmos, I'm like, cool, you've completely destroyed the original, what I think is the intention of the director and the way they're trying to have you experience the film. And I think part of it is also because Steven Spielberg is very hands-on with that kind of stuff. And even with like the 3D version that they did, which is coming back out in theaters, I recommend it. It's awesome. I think that the fact that he always has his fingerprints on whatever alterations and fixes or changes are made to the movie has kept the spirit of what the intention was intact, which thank God, because you wouldn't want that to be lost over generations of like new versions being made.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. Of course, you've probably seen Jaws if you're watching this, but let me ask you this. Have you seen the sequels? Where do you stand? Are you weirdly a big Jaws 4 defender? Let us know. Let us know in the comments down below. And actually, let me throw this out there. I'll throw this out there. If they ever did remake Jaws.
Son of a bitch.
Who do you cast? Modern day.
Who do you cast?
Who makes it? Who do you cast?
Oh, I want to throw up. That's hard.
So throw that in the comments down below. Let us know. Please join our Discord, join our Patreon. Let us know what you think of Jaws. Have you read these books? If so, what'd you think of those? Board game, we'll do that at some point as well. We'll call it Bert and figure that out. We'll be like, read the book, read the rule book, and then come back to us.
And also, it's getting a re-release on August 29th. So if you have not seen it yet and you listen to us talk about it, go see it.
Yes.
It's going to be in IMAX, regular theaters, 3D, 4DX, all the bells and whistles. So definitely go check it out.
It's all out there. It's the summer season. Go for a dip. What's there to be afraid of in the water? Y'all, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to Frog City for having us here to record our awesome show. We'll see you all soon. Bye.